Thanks for having me on.
No problem. And we'll talk about your podcast too, because you said you're looking for a new spot.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm always open to doing everything. So it's like, I do have my writer's block show that is on
Right. That's
Thursdays
what
at the Dude
that's going on
Brewery.
like 3 years.
Yeah. The show itself has been going on for a couple of years. I've probably had about three or four different venues. COVID didn't help with that. We are digital for a little bit. That sucked. And then, so now I'm back live on Hollywood Boulevard at the Dude's Brewery. So the next show is going to be the 6th of October, but we're going to try and make it more regularly on Thursday. So, yeah, but it's a fun show. It's all off the cuff. How'd you do it, right? Did I make you do it? If not, you need to come back down.
I'm not sure if I've done that one. I probably was working on doing that, but I know there was a time that I was working on going out to LA, and I had a few gigs lined up for like a couple weeks, but then I got like a random job, and then I kind of got caught up with my job. So I haven't actually been doing comedy for quite a bit, probably almost, I want to go say like 3 years. I think probably like a year after you did my
Oh,
show.
shit. Wow.
Like a year after you did my show, I think
Yeah.
I got caught up with like a job.
Boo, money. Who wants that? Do comedy.
For reals. I don't know, man. I got my credit together. I got like went to the doctor and I got all kinds of like got like tests done, make sure I was all healthy and shit. I was like, God damn, like I should have been doing this shit a long time ago, taking care of myself. I had an ingrown
Isn't
nail
that the
since
most fucked thing? Like on
I
your
had,
toe or what?
yeah, I had an ingrown nail on my toe for like I don't know how many years. I just like dealt with it as a fucking like, dude, like since like my teen years. Like I just like had this nail that like I just fucked up one day cutting it, and then it just was just fucked up from then on. Whenever it grow, it like get fucked up if I didn't like keep it trimmed, and so then like one day like
Yeah,
sometimes I would stub my toe and it would like oh I'd be like oh fuck that shit hurt because like that nail was like it was in there, and so then I went to a foot
yeah.
doctor. I had insurance, so I went to a foot doctor, and she goes, "Yeah, I can fix that shit. I'll get you an appointment next week." And I went like within a week, my foot was fixed, and I was like, "Dude, why didn't I get insurance a long time ago?"
Bro, I would have died if they would have just sent you to some fucking salon on the corner and had like Lin Lin just go and dig at it for half an hour. You know what I mean? Like you gotta keep up on that.
Damn, it's all simple as that.
She's
She's
like,
like,
I
"Dude,
got you
thirty
on this.
bucks."
And it was just like, all you needed was a pedicure, bro. Yeah. Should have had her digging at it fucking years ago. See, guys being shy about being in a salon, but you've been walking funny since you were 18.
You know, and that's funny because
That's fucking
I would get
crazy.
manicures. I would go to like a sometimes when
You
I
wouldn't let them
lived
see
in
your feet?
I don't know. Well, yeah, because I had an ingrown, and it was like, and it looked weird. It looked like, like it would be kind of like on that edge. It looked kind of bruised all the time, like I broke it, my toe or something. Kind of like if it will, is because it would get like, it would
Yeah.
get like infected when I would like stub it. Anyways,
Yeah. That
that's
shit
my girl
sucks,
stats, but
bro.
that's my girl. But anyways, yeah. So shit like that.
Well,
I started buying like sunglasses and eyeglasses. Because like it was all covered by my insurance, so like I have a bunch of eyeglasses
to
now.
keep you from looking at your feet.
For
Dang.
reals. All right. Um, okay, so we'll get started with
No,
your.
feet are gross. I think that's why they're so far.
I think we'll get started with. Can you introduce yourself and talk a little bit about your comedy?
Yeah, so I'm Ash Casanova. Definitely known each other for a couple years. I've been doing this for about 6, 7 years, as consistently as I can, which could be more, which is all comics say or should be saying. But yeah, I've been rocking it. I've had my writer's block show that I created about 3 years ago. And right now it's at the Dude's Brew. You can find it over there on Hollywood Boulevard. And I am a cat mom. So that is those are all my credits. Those are pretty much my credits for that. Been in LA for a little while, so I'm out here. If anybody wants to do shows, hit me up.
Tell us about the writer's block. I know you started. Now, are you the founder of it, or is that something you took the baton from? I'm not really. I know it's been around for what 3 years that you've been working on that.
Yeah, I created it myself. I was producing it by myself for a while, and I did adopt a co host for a little. I had Mandy Martino working on that with me. She's awesome, but she's also so busy right now. So I'm taking the reins as far as hosting for it, but it is now under the umbrella of the Comedy College. If you guys want to check them out, they have shows kind of all over the West Side, a lot in Santa Monica, but that's kind of the umbrella that my writer's block show is now under, and so they're helping produce that as well. So it's pretty cool. Yeah, they've been pretty helpful.
Can you tell me a little bit about what exactly entails going to one of these sessions?
Oh, for a writer's block show?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I always like to say, if you look at the title of it, I'm such a nerd. So, writer's block, the apostrophe is on the outside of writers. So it's like it's just gonna be it's a short lineup of comedians. It's usually about 6 comedians that I have on there, and it's just like a really, I feel like the atmosphere is more supportive than a normal comedy. All of the sets are based off of audience suggestion. So it's not necessarily like pulling it from a hat. We're actually interacting with the audience. We get to talk to them, figure out like where are you coming up with this? We rant, we riff. Comics. I feel like it's a comic show too. Not only is it nothing else, like an audience member is not going to experience this anywhere else. Um, for the most and I think that comics recognize that. So a lot of comics after doing my show too, they're like, when can I get on this again? Like they find that it really helps break down kind of like the more inner workings of how your writing process is and the fact that it's on the spot and you're just like, fuck, like how do I make this funny? But so that's like by the end of it, I'm always just like, thanks for experiencing writer's block, like in so many different ways. And it's just, it's a great way for audiences to actually get to know the comics a little bit better too, instead of just their set, same jokes or same premises. I always introduce comics with like a fun fact. Like, we all have our resume, but it's like, like what's something that we wouldn't know about you? And thankfully that also helps prompt the audience to kind of say like, okay, this is something I want to know more about, or this is something that also, helpful to the comic is they can actually talk about it. So you're not going to be set off just like, fuck, blank eyed and like, like what am I gonna do now? Like, who wants to give me a top like that? It's like it's a lot more like smooth flow, really, really fun, and it's definitely a challenge that I highly recommend comics doing and anybody interested in comedy and audience members, please check it out. Please check out Writer's Block. You'll have fun. I guarantee it. And it's free right now, so you have no fucking excuse. We can cuss on here, right?
Yes, you're perfectly fine to say whatever you like. Can you tell us a little bit about I guess, the comedy scene there in Los Angeles for the people who, I guess, where can they find your comedy at? Where do you, I guess, where are you a regular at? I guess where do you like to do your comedy? I know people have like sometimes open mics that they enjoy. Other people have like theaters. Some people like certain comedy places that they do comedy at.
Yeah, for sure. So my show again is over at the Dudes Brewery. I also host open mics. I'm actually have to go right after we finish this to host a couple over at Fourth Wall. They're really, if you guys are looking into getting comedy, they're really great. They have a couple different locations in Los Angeles, from NoHo, North Hollywood to Hollywood, and you can just sign up online. They'll give you 5 minutes. It's guaranteed. You're gonna have a good built-in foundation of working comedians for your crowd, and people are tend to be pretty supportive. So I host those mics Tuesday nights, but of course this is not a Tuesday night, but I'm going to be going in early to help cover somebody today. And then as far as regular, I've been doing roast battles too lately. So if you've been into that, I've been doing them at the Ha Ha, even though I had a couple people ask me to start trying to do them at the store because I am currently undefeated. 7-0 at the Ha Ha. come fucking battle, bro.
Damn. So you just so are you
Yeah.
on a roll, or you're just like the ahead of your time?
Um, I I'm on a roll, but also there are really really good comics at the haha, but it is a different. I feel like the store may be a step up, but I've been obsessed with studying roast battles for years. Like it's just been like a mild obsession with mine. I've only started doing them probably like 4 or 5 months ago. And yeah, I've just one of my best friends too, he's a huge supporter. He's like, dude, you're gonna be undefeated. Like that's what he says. Like, shut up. You're just my cheerleader. And he's like, nah, bro, you're gonna be undefeated. You roast my ass constantly. And yeah, so I'm
So
7-0 right now and I
there's a scene, or there's a new open mic here in Bakersfield. It just opened up. It's every Monday. Every Monday night they do a roast battle and an open mic. They also
oh
have
that's
it at a
cool.
studio, so they'll do like shorts for you. You can put it on your Instagram. It's just kind of set up to do the open mic, and also if you individually want to promote the way you, I mean, if you're proud of your set that night, you could just ask for the recording and then like set it up how you like. But anyways, apart from that, the so roasting is kind of new to Bakersfield. Like Bakersfield, they never had a frequent roast. They've had roast events. I
Hmm.
think the last one I heard of was like maybe this last year, and then before that, maybe 2 years before that. Um, so you're now loving it, you're doing your research. Your approach seems to be, well founded, and you had some great advice. What would you recommend to the new roasting scene here in Bakersfield for people who just want to be 7-0, or maybe just have their time but they're humble about it?
Yeah. Yeah, I normally am humble, but I gotta get some better opponents, bro. I'm just kidding. But what I recommend for new roasters is do your homework. Like even if you just like interview the person. I know it sucks. Like sometimes you're like I don't know because I know your scene may be tighter, so maybe you guys know each other a little bit better. I feel like battles are always better when you actually know the person or
Mhm.
you like the person. So I always try to take time to interview whoever I'm battling beforehand. If somebody's like, oh, just look at my IG, I'm like, it's just shallow, it's lame. But like ask questions like, what did their parents do? Where are they from? What are their other hobbies? Like just like kind of like figure out who this person is and just like being able to like pull different marks. Like it's all about kind of like wordplay and shit. Like being able to pull different parts from like their history and shit like that and be able to like just fucking slam them about they're not doing shit now or like whatever. Definitely get to know your opponent. And then I know that sounds like a lot of info, but cut the fat. Like it's your jokes should only be if you write them down, it should only be like 2, 3 lines long. That's it. If it's more than that, you have too many words. Figure out what is in there that's not necessary, or switch out a couple words to make it more like a word economy. And it'll help you write your other comedy too. But yeah, trim the fat on jokes, and then some little quips and rebuttals. Like if like calling somebody like a celebrity twist on their name. Like you're gonna want to have those like in between. Thank you, blah blah blahs. And then also if you get a good rebuttal, like be fucking present, bro. Like I know some people are like stuck in their head trying to remember their next joke. But if you're listening to what they're saying and you can like have a joke right off the bat, like to like rebuttal and not waste one of your 3 or 4 jokes, like I've seen battles won off of rebuttals only. And it's like because you can tell that's a present working good writer. It's not somebody who can just memorize a joke, or which you should memorize your joke. My last thing is, please, for the love of God, if you were at the one writing your joke, do not bring your phone up there. Do not look off note cards, whatever. These are 4 fucking jokes that you wrote yourself. You can memorize them. Like, this is a show for the audience. We don't need heads down. Like, be present, interact, like, be a good fucking performer. You know what I mean? Like, I got so much shit to talk about these people. I'm still beating you, and you're reading your notes. Come on, who wrote this for you? Come on.
Damn, fuck.
That's what I gotta say.
That's what's up. That's awesome. I think those are all so like even as you said them, they're like so obvious, but I'm sure everybody makes those mistakes. Even me, I did a roast battle. I did memorize them, but I would the mistake I made fun of the host, or not the judges. There was three judges from L.A.
Yeah.
and each one of my jokes were set up to make fun of a judge and then whoever my opponent was. And I don't know why I thought that would work. 'Cause
Okay.
I
Oh,
thought it
you
would.
ballsy.
I thought the crowd would eat it up, and I thought that's what mattered. It didn't matter what the crowd thought. It was about what the judges thought. They did not like being made fun of. They let me know too afterwards. They were like nah
That's
yeah.
That's an interesting thing. Likability is massive. It's not the audience does count though, because sometimes judges and I've talked to them, they admit it that they don't look up. Sometimes they're sitting there reading, they're trying to take notes, they're trying to write jokes to rebuttal to you later, and you know what I mean. They're listening to audience reactions. So like, oh, okay, this person said something and laughed. There's a point. You know what I mean? Um, Likability is massive with roast battles, and that is very understated because if you go up there and the audience doesn't fucking like you and they see your opponent and they're like, you're gonna talk shit about this person, like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I think likability is huge, especially if it comes down to split decision on the judge panel and it comes
Mm,
down to one last joke and then audience chooses. And I have won that way, and that's the only battle that I've ever had any votes against me, and it went down to audience, and they liked me better, massively liked me better. My opponent got one clap, massively liked me better. So likability is huge, and although judges talking shit could pay off, it has to again be in the moment. Like it is smart, like you did your homework on it, but it's like if you can fucking quip, get them back in the moment like that, like judges will be like, oh shit, he's right, he's good. You know what I mean? They can't
uh,
take that away from. But if it's not good and you planned it and you wasted that sacrifice on it, then it's like, oh, yeah, it's like a double step back. But yeah,
wow.
likability is huge. That's a good one to bring up.
So interesting to hear you like talk about it. You're like so fucking pumped up about it, and and the tips are good. They're like they see, like I said, they seem pretty obvious, but I have seen people with their phone. This last one I did at the open mic, I tried it. I did have my phone, and then and you're right. I needed my phone because it was too fat, and I didn't
It
practice
was
it.
too fat. Oh, your joke was too
Yeah,
long.
yeah, it's too
Yeah.
long. That's why I needed my
This is
phone because I hadn't practiced it. I was just gonna go up there and do it.
Yeah, this is what helps me. I also have like pretty bad ADD. Me being on my phone, it's I don't know if you noticed that already, guys, but yeah, it's like me being on my phone is like innocent distraction. So I do note cards. I'll just like literally have little note cards, and that helps me to physically see the length of my joke. I know that okay, the setup of the joke is gonna help me remember. So I'm like, iceberg is from blah, and that's just literally that's gonna help me trigger in my head and remember the rest of the joke. That's the first line, and the next two lines is the actual joke, and then maybe I have a rebuttal. Then that's it. If it doesn't fit on three or four lines on this note card, it's too much. Cut it out. Cut something out. And then I'll just keep that. I'll keep it on me. I'll keep it in my back pocket. Never look at them. But I feel that a lot of people, you need that anchor. You need to feel comfortable. Like, fuck, my joke's over there. Like, what if I forget it? What? You won't. Trust yourself. If you do keep it, I just keep it in my pocket, which is still unnecessary. I've never had to look at them, but I feel that need. But I think note cards help a lot, just to like keep your shit organized. Flip, 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 flip. There's my four jokes. I don't have to worry about my phone not turning on in time. I don't have to worry about shit getting lost. You know, I don't know. That's just my own little technical ADHD brain tips to anybody who's right. Just write them on a note card, and also don't fucking pull that shit out. But yeah.
I feel like I'm watching like Tyson talk about his fighting career and shit, like just like, and I'm just like amazed, like fuck, man, it's just so simple to them, and it's like wow, I'm all impressed. I'm really impressed. Um, One thing that I think is a good tip, just
Thanks.
listening to you for myself, is that I'm probably gonna have a joke for a rebuttal, like really common rebuttals that I keep getting at the roast. So one thing I've always
Mm.
get is big nose jokes. I always get that I look Jewish and that I look. I get always get like Middle Eastern jokes, like I'm a terrorist or some shit. I always like consistently at roast battles get those three things. So I need rebuttals to throw back
Dude,
at
so
those.
easy. Yeah, you're like, okay, I may look like a terrorist, but why are you the only one bombing? Just shit like that. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. They're usually
Like
and they're
just
all
like
the same jokes. They're always the same, and it always has to do like the something about bombs and something about um,
exactly.
yeah, yeah. And the bombing refers to like not having good jokes. But it's always something like that, similar. Just kind of the audience will get it. Is pretty much what I could say. So I should
Yeah, and
definitely have
that's
those
what
in the back.
that's good. At least exactly. Like be ready with those because like those ones are so like like obvious to them. So like for you to be set up is like, bro, like what else you got? And that's why I think again, like interviewing and knowing your opponent a little more at a surface level. Because when you go and you have three or four jokes straight and they're all about you looking like a terrorist when you're not, even you know what I mean? Like and if none of them are really landing, like the planes at 9/11, all right, so dumb. But like you have to go deeper. You have to have more to be, like, and the judges will notice that too. It's like, all right, you had four fat jokes, but what else do you have? Anything about this person? Just having diversity is gonna also probably tilt the scales to the other person,
I'll add diversity to there.
and not just because the other person's fat.
Now, do you get a common theme in the things that people say about you? Since are they doing their research on you? Have you noticed people doing that to you?
Well, some people will watch like my other battles and be like, oh, okay, my parents were, officers in the military. Um, Really common ones is because I'm a female. I must be just sucking all of the dicks. I'm just like a big whore, even though I'm in a relationship. It's like things like that. So that'll be like a common thing. I've had one battler, he didn't write shit. He literally looked at me and he's like, Ashley is so skinny. And like, I don't even remember he had anything after that. Like, he just like surface baseline shit. It was just like, like, oh, you're gonna talk about her being a whore, you're gonna talk about her being skinny, you're gonna talk about this or that. It's like, yeah. It's like if somebody's like, oh, you're so skinny, I'm like, thank you, like shit like that. Like, gotta just be like present, gotta be whatever. Cause it's like, know you, trust you, and yeah, just be fucking ready for it. It's like, yeah, I think one of the best like little slight rebuttals is just being like taking it as a compliment. I think that's one of the best ways to if you don't have something super quick and in the chamber for it, like I think that's one of the more fun ways. But yeah,
Moving from roast battles to something you brought up right now is being a female in comedy. Um, I am well aware of the low hanging fruit of jokes towards female comics of they're not as funny as men, which you know I, I mean, if they're talking like box office stuff, and yeah, unfortunately, that's kind of like leaning one way. But there's plenty of
statistics.
yeah, yeah. It's just kind of a skewed thing because I think at that level, you do need some access, and if the people who give you access are in the mind frame of men are funnier than women, then yeah, you're gonna have that skewed number. But as a female, what I guess what advice have you received from older female comics who've probably had, even tougher fucking time? Even as hard as it is right now, I could say back then, even everybody can say that about every genre and every situation, right? Every culture of
Yeah.
anything that's new. Trying to do comedy as well. What have you learned, or what have you been told that's helped you out as a female comic dealing with, I guess that
Yeah.
that those people with the low hanging fruit, I guess.
Yeah. The stigma of being a female comic, unfortunate to say, and I've read books about this, is the mentorship in most fields that are male dominated. They outsource their knowledge to other men, people who are like them. It just makes sense. So there is an exceedingly lack of female mentorship, specifically in comedy. I think the most I've gotten with getting advice from fellow females are those that are currently experiencing it with me, whether they're just like slightly above or we're all in the same kind of fight together. And the stigma behind it, it's just like, again, kind of, I guess, to kind of tie back into like, knowing yourself and being present. It's like, you have to trust your material. You have to keep working harder. I don't want to say women harder in any way like that, but I feel like it definitely takes a lot more I think opportunities to kind of like prove your worth in that. And I guess for me to say it this way is like Some people will say like, oh, you've gotten shows because you're attractive, and I've also not gotten shows because I'm attractive. Like it sounds crazy, but it's like people won't book you if you're in a relationship because of these weird things like that. Yeah, it sounds fucking weird, but I've talked to fellow comedians, female comedians, who they keep their relationships low key because there's some weird thing in people booking that like they're just like, oh, if I can, book this person that I can maybe connect with more, I'm going to do that. But they don't really consider that with the men that they're booking, because there's one female out of nine in their lineup, you know what I mean? So that thought, they may consider that place more. Um, so it sucks, but ultimately it's just like, I just kind of brush it off. You go through those experiences and it's like, oh, wow, I really thought that they were actually seeing me for my material, they're getting this and that. And I have been recognized for that, thankfully. That's how I got in with the comedy college. I just like went to one open mic. They booked me on a show later that week, and then the next week they asked me to start hosting and running their shows. So that was like true recognition for my talents. But that also was 4 or 5 years into the game, 5 years into the game, 6 years into the game, and that's me knowing and being confident in my role as a comedian and not as a female comedian. And so it's like each time you go out there, like you just have to, you don't know who's in the crowd, and that's for everybody. So it's just trust yourself, work hard on yourself, and it's okay to own that you're being a bad bitch in fucking comedy. Like, okay, yeah, I got tits, I got an ass, I'm a bit sexy, but you know what? I'm also funny as fuck, and if you want to battle at wits, let's go. I trust and I have enough confidence in myself for that. And it sucks. I've seen some girls beaten down for not, feeling taken advantage of. But ultimately, you know what fight you're in, and we got to be just as big of dogs, bitches, if you will.
What was your access to comedy? How did you get into comedy? Was it like a comedy school? Was it just a hobby at first? How was the initial introduction?
Yeah, I was doing improv before. I was like a theater kid in college and stuff, and I was doing some improv. I'm from Yuma, Arizona, so it's a really, really small town in Arizona. I was always interested in stand-up comedy. This was before I moved, 2013, so a long time ago. And I literally just like a flyer was found on the ground for an open mic that was happening right then and there. And so who I was with are like, let's go. You've been talking about this. I was like, you're right. Like me, I'm like, if I say I'm gonna do something like that, like fucking please call me out. You know what I mean? Because I'm about it. Like I'm not gonna I'm gonna do what I say in those regards. You know what I mean? And so I literally just flipped the flyer over, wrote my first 3 minutes down on the back, went to the open mic. It was so weird because it was like my hometown, like it was like people I like knew in the audience, like like the cool kids from high school and shit like that. But I was just like, no backing out now, and it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad, and then the place closed down, so maybe it was. But
Have you ever
there's
have you
not
ever
that many
gone
outlets there.
to a comedy school?
I took one class about stand up, and that was when I was already about 2 years into the game. One of my friends started doing it, so she wanted me to join her in this class. So that was cool because it kind of reaffirmed a lot of things that I was doing, and also like really helped like with like callbacks and trimming fat for things. But I was already like hosting shows at that time when I took this class. Um, and then I took another class on hosting specifically. So I think I have a pretty decent knack for hosting shows. People ask me to host shows all the time. Even if I'm just on the lineup, they're like, "Fuck, actually, can you host this?" I'm like, "I guess, you bitch. I'll be here for an hour or two." But yeah, I like hosting. Not a lot of comics do, but it also probably plays into my more theater and performance based background. Is why I'm not really shying away from it. But it's definitely a different role. Hosting is you have to know that the show is not about you when you host. You have to keep the energy up. You have to engage with the audience. You have to make sure, for the love of God, get people's intros right too, and then yeah, keep that up. I like hosting. So yeah, I do a lot of hosting, and no longer do improv, even though I was part of a couple of troops. You're welcome for me not to do that anymore. Yeah, and then just came out here. Forgot stand up was a thing. Is when I had gotten into improv troops, and that's how I fell back into stand up. Was actually in LA. I like to say I started because I was like, oh shit, this is what people do out here. I forgot. Like, let's go.
Yeah, I kind of started the same way. I was in LA with the living there with a friend. He had moved out there and he rented me a room and he got into acting. Went to an acting class with him, but it was just too expensive and it was like the miser technique or something. So it was like crazy expensive. Or at least
Mhm.
expensive to me at the time. And I opted out to do comedy because there was a few people at my office, so I was working at like a part time gig. They would do comedy, and so once I found out like three people were doing comedy in the office, I was like, holy shit, how many people do comedy in LA? And I just thought I'd try it, so I went to try it, and man, I fucking enjoyed it. I liked like just making people laugh, I guess, that part. And then also that some of my twisted stupid thoughts were funny to people and they weren't like, I don't know, I guess something to like not be
Yeah.
embarrassed about, just some random shit other people think about sometimes too. So that was a good part too, to like throw my thoughts out to the world and people kind of laugh at them. I was like, oh, okay, they're not too weird, they're kind of funny actually. When it comes to ladies night, so is that something that's kind of beneficial, that way you kind of don't have to deal with some of the stuff you've had to deal with in other shows?
I'm I'm not a fan. Is that messed up to say? Like,
I could, yeah,
I
got
don't
your
know.
reasons.
I grew up. I have like two brothers. I grew up with two brothers. Like, I'm the middle child, and like even when I was like a kid, like we'd always like we'd wrestle or do sports together. Like when I was like put in like soccer and stuff, I was like, do not put me on an all girls team. Do not do that. You know what I mean? And it's not just that like girls kind of suck to be around sometimes. I think it can happen in any realm. There's a lot of extra emotions, a lot of that, and I don't want to blame that on females at all. But I feel like if you create a space where you want those types of like, I don't want to say weaker emotions to like thrive or to whatever, you're catering to that audience. You're not going to have an all female group anywhere else. So why, like, yeah, you feel safe, you feel this and that, but that's not where your comedy is going to exist outside of that. Are they the ones paying you, or is this just a hobby for you to feel good for an hour? Like what is your goal with it? Like if you go here for some female companionship, fucking cool. But that set that you're doing in this room right now, for damn sure is not going to work outside these walls. So why are you catering to them? That's just my thoughts on it. And to be real, it's not a more comfortable room. Women aren't. We like to say it, they're not as supportive as each other, and that's where the whole female mentorship, you know, uh, thing comes into play too. It's like 50-50 for the ones that are up there. It's like, yeah, I want to help you out, but the other ones are like, I fucking struggled. I want you to do the same thing. So it's not as helpful as people want to think, and I think it's just like really kind of. I don't think it looks good, honestly.
Has oh shit, I lost my thoughts. I don't know, like I had like a so as for yourself, you've chosen not to like kind of opt out of not opt out, but you say that's not like your go to as far as trying to get uh, known and grow your comedy. What would you say is your, I guess, your approach at it? Are you looking to do movies? Um, Have you done movies? I feel like I think you told me you'd have. Right? For some reason, I feel like you were in or a show. I can't remember. I'm sorry. I'm spacing out.
I've done like. Oh yeah, no worries. Yeah, yeah. I was doing like some. I have like an acting background as well, so I've just some like, like mini series and like things like that. Like nothing crazy at all. Feel free to Google me, people. But nothing at all. But I am very much into acting. I've done like on screen acting classes, shit like that. I do a lot of writing and stuff too. But I'm all about it. Anything. One of my goals is like to be like an integral part of like an ongoing series. I think that would be really nice. But I'm always open to collaborations on and off the camera. I've had a lot of experience with both. So yeah, but I like it all. I like performing in general. So and not to like really sidestep. I think that's like one of the things I enjoy about comedy is that like Yeah, with acting, fuck, dude, you'll be on set forever. The editing process takes forever. Like everything when it boils down to it, the end product is so much different from what it started out on paper. And with comedy, you have none of those variables type of thing. You know what I mean? Like you're the editor, you're the performer, you're your own co-actor, and all of that is being recognized right there on the spot. You don't have to take months to figure out what you did was shit. you know?
Yeah.
Like it's just like instant. And I think that's the twisted part of me too, just like did we do good? Did we do right? Are we good? We're okay? Let's rewrite now.
What's the, I guess, what would be the cream of the crop for roast battles? Where would you like to be? So, I mean, sitting at the top 7-0.
Oh, I mean, the next is the Comedy Store, bro. I'm just, I think I have like a pretty good X on one of the judges lineups though, so that's the only thing I'm scared about. But
For
other than that, I'm down for the store.
so let's say so the comedians here in Bakersfield, they hear your podcast, they hear your advice, they hear that you say that, do these subtle things and they will pay off big time for you. So this person starts feeling, hey, you know what, I'm getting good, so I'm gonna go down to LA. How does someone get into a roast battle, I guess, challenge? I mean, how do you get into a roast battle at the haha, and how do you get into a roast battle at the Comedy Store?
It's honestly not that hard in a sense. Like, I mean, you can talk to me if you want. I have in this with the host and everything, but honestly, if you contact the host, Los Digits, he's a gem of a human. He runs the roast battles at the haha. Boop boop boop, hit him up, say, hey, I'm a comedian from Bakersfield. He's looking for battlers all the time, so you guys could probably get a battle literally. If you're hearing this now, next week, week after, I swear to you. Tell him if you have somebody with you you want to battle, totally fine. Like, he might be better at that, or say, hey, I'm open to battle anybody else. But like, maybe send a video clip so he knows you're not just some psycho off the street. You can stand with a microphone, talk into it, and then when just tell him you're ready to battle. And then I would probably just get your feet wet and probably do it at like this, at the haha. Nate Welch and Miranda, they run the comic wars at the improv. Sorry, that's my notification for my mic. They run the comics wars at the that would be next tier up before the store. And then at the comedy store, of course, Sarah Keller, she's a really good insight for that. And then, yeah, anybody else, some of the big dogs. But I would suggest getting your structure set, getting your confidence set, practice at these other really good venues, and as soon as you're up, because once you get to the comedy store, your record starts over. None of those other places count, kind of thing. So I'd make sure you're ready, and that's what I suggest for anybody who's getting gigs. It's like you can talk yourself up, you can get into these good gigs, but if you're not actually ready for it, then that was it. So
Do you have any closing things you'd like to talk about? Make sure you get on there if you got any shows to promote, where people can find your comedy, where they can contact you, just how do people consume your content?
yeah, get me. So you can find me on Instagram at Ash Casanova Comedy. I think I have like a Twitter and shit too, but I don't really post too much there. YouTube, if you guys want to truly see my little comedic journey, I haven't posted videos for a while on there, but I've told you I've been doing this for like 6 years. I started under my birth name is Ashley Hernandez. My biological, like my blood name is Casanova. So that's why I go with that because obviously way cooler. And so you'll see some comedy from with my old name. You'll see even the process of my writing, how it's grown. See, at one point I felt I needed to do more like a character kind of voice, so you could see that shit. We all make weird decisions, but and then ultimately it's like going back to like trusting yourself. I feel like some of my writing when I was like a newbie comic, I've like found old videos. I'm like, holy fuck, I could still use these jokes. You know what I mean? Like, just gotta trust yourself, guys. Trust yourself. Keep working. Keep growing. Um, yeah, and find me. Also, Writer's Block Comedy is my my show page. If you guys want to follow that, DM me if you guys are looking for spots. Is there just on there as well? So just send me some clips and let's get some gigs going. Whoever wants to work and collab, let's go.
There's a comedian here in town. He cracks me up. He still kind of does it a little bit, but he would always try to find these characters, and like sometimes he dress up like as a cowboy. Sometimes he dressed up a little like a wrestler. He just had these like different looks, and I thought they were kind of like characters he was gonna try, but he never changed his voice or his mannerisms. There were just different ways that he dressed when he'd go to the open mic. I thought it was a gimmick, but it
Just the outfit was different.
yeah yeah. So he tripped me out, but
That is so fucking.
when you mentioned trying to come up with like I guess when you said about the voices, it reminds me of a comedian telling me that he knew a guy who had he did what's it called, those voice people, the ventriloquists, and he did
Oh
that.
yeah.
So this guy did that, and he got booked for a show, but it was under his name. But he got booked, and he shows up without like the puppet. And so when he's going up to go on stage, they're like, "Where's your puppet?" He goes, "Oh no, like it's all me. I'm doing my set. You know, it's great." And they were like, "We didn't fucking hire you. We hired the fucking puppet. Go get the fucking puppet."
Oh my. Just got outstaged by a 2 foot thing of material, bro. Like, damn. Well,
And
if your
that
puppet has more
always
material than you, I don't
that
know.
always stuck with me of like that's why I avoid a gimmick. I always just do what I feel is me, and I try to what's funny to me, and I stick to that. You know, I don't I really avoid trying to be like the the cowboy or the the ventriloquist and shit.
That is such a good point, though. I did find myself like, because you have like a thought in your head, and then you would write the joke, and you'd have to rewrite it into their voice, and then like, so it's like, no, just fucking write what's true to you. Same with like battles, like write what's true to them too. Like obviously all jokes are based in truth, and then they're exaggerated. So it's like, if it's not based in your own reality, like it's gonna go not very far.
Very well. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. I'll just stop the recording and then, but we can keep talking and finish up here. But I appreciate you coming on the show. It was great. I appreciate the advice. I hope people take it serious. And you know, meet you down at the haha and you know, go after number one.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for having me on, Iceberg. I appreciate you, man.
Oh, no problem. And